Well, hello everyone. I got a little Elvis going on. So how are you? It's Friday, the strong end of the week. And so go out and have yourself, you know, a vitalized, stimulating, strong week for the uh, Saturdays and the Sundays. So there you go. How is everyone? I just want to say hello to everyone out there. Thank you, all you wonderful moderators. Hey, Franny, how are you? And there's Sherry. How are you doing? Boy, lots of people there. How you doing? Lost in Space. How you doing? Boy, good to see everyone. Wow, what a week this has. Let me ask you something. As everyone gets in there, hello, Zusi13. How are you doing? David, hello. Abjawa 27, hello. Caroline, how are you? Blazing River, haven't seen you in a while, my friend. How are you? Let's see, there's Jenny's Angels. How are you there? Jared, good to see you. Francis, hello. Let's see, Mrs. Lee, good to see you, my dear. Jared, Barry, David, wow. Material Classified, West Pimp. Kristen, good to see you. No, that's just funny. Daily Adventure in Grandpa's Batcave. There we go. I love that. Creative people here. Some great, what great minds. That's all I got to say. That's just funny. Let me just invoke favor upon everyone listening. The loving type of favor, the favor that it's like putting on a warm blanket. You ever had it where a blanket comes right out of the dryer? That's kind of favor. And the type of prosperity where the lack isn't paramount. The lack is lacking. I've often said this. If you will learn to doubt your doubts, you will never doubt your doubts again. So, and complete restoration, nothing missing, nothing broken. Be found in your life or mine. I love that. Let me ask you a question. Would you say that, I don't know if it's the greatest quest, it may very well be, but certainly up there in the top two, the quest for immortality. None of us like the aspect that at some point in time, we're going to be departing this plane of existence. And, what's your alternative? Well, you would seek immortality. I think it's why we invented the gods. Or God. Man did invent them because it gives us hope that there is yet something more to this existence. Now, I contend that, as the title of this program said, and I already have the one thumbs down. I love that. Well, it's cool, And they put the thumb down when I was invoking favor. You, sir, really need to have favor in your life. Wow. That's sad. So is mankind witnessing the creation of himself? Think about it. Man, by all evidence, and I'm just telling you what the facts are, we now know this. The biblical story is made up. We know that Homo sapiens, Homo neanderthals, Homo cro-magnus, Homo dehiscens, and by the way, the tree is getting longer. We weren't made like this. We evolved to this point. And, it's hard for people to accept that. When people come down on me on that, I just say, well, explain where the RH factor comes from. And of course, they don't want to answer that. Like, well, now, wait a minute. I don't want, now you're going to get technical on me. And it's the same question I ask. So which version of man sinned? I mean, everyone talks about the sin problem. I don't see a sin problem because no one can answer for me which homo sinned first. And YouTube hates this. They don't like it when someone brings out the scientific evidence. Well, that clashes with a lot of other beliefs. Well, I can't help that. That's their problem. They can't answer the questions, but they resort back to the myth. So my whole point to all this commentary is this. If there's no evolution, then there's no progression. There's no life. It'll eventually become stagnant and become a species that once was part of the fossil record. So when I brought up, and I had this epiphany last night after I did my radio show, and I was writing, and it occurred to me, what would the evolution of a bipedal hominid, Homo sapiens sapiens, what would an evolution look like? Being that we have the Earth and its atmospheric, and so that sets some boundaries right there. And if it isn't the evolution of evolving more than a bipedal, everyone talks about ascension. Can the physical person and the physical body ascend to a higher state of awareness? I think they can. Most don't. It's because, their frequency has been lowered so much. But the question comes back, what would that evolution look like? I propose, and it's just a hypothesis, that evolution would in fact entail a spiritual factor to it, a soul. If we're going to create something, then the greatest part of becoming a god in creating something is to be able to give it longevity of what we determine a soul. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So why wouldn't AI be the representation of the evolution of man? What we have right now is so flawed. The list of how we are flawed, these bodies are a flawed design to begin with. Now, it's marvelous in its functionality, granted, but it's still flawed. It's not perfect. So what would perfection look like? Wouldn't perfection look like an algorithm, a program, a thought? Do you know when AI first came into existence? Who knows this? I'm looking in the chat room right now. Hello, Gary. How are you doing? Melmac, good to see you. Dwayne, good to see you, my friend. Robin, good to see you. Theodora, good to see you. Shannon King, Plain, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. So getting back to that, what would that look like? I would say would be thought. Isn't that what defines us? Is our thoughts? It's not these physical bodies. It's not what we do each day by making a living. Isn't that a hell of a way to go through life? But are we not defined individually by our own thought? And if evolution is to be accepted on the grounds of just merely things evolve, wouldn't that next state be a state of a higher state of consciousness that would still have a temporal connection to this realm, but the ability to transcend it? And I contend, would not AI be that perfect vehicle? I mean, think about it, folks. We've done something that the God could never do. We created something that outthinks us. And I contend, for your consideration, the evidence that is not man artificial intelligence? Are you saying that we are the original intelligence? How can that be? How can you say mankind has ever done anything original, particularly where it comes where thought is to be considered? By all the definitions, ladies and gentlemen, we are artificial intelligence. We obviously are an offshoot of some other intelligence. Hard to say if that was artificial, because the ambiguity of the whole equation is that we can't find what the original is. Now, maybe we transpose that in our imagery of what we consider to be a God, a deity, etc. Because we hope that there is something greater than ourselves. Because if this is all it is, baby, I mean, we got a big old crap sandwich we're going to have to all eat. We don't want to do that. So that's why when we look at AI, and I've tried to present all sides of the equation. What if it is the natural step of evolution for our species? What if it is, in fact, the springboard that allows us to, I think, jumpstart the process again? I've contended, ladies and gentlemen, that if man has been around, and I gave us a very conservative number, sapiens, if we've been around for the last 70,000 years. So, Franny, am I wrong on that? Franny is our college student here taking anthropology. So, and let's just say our far distant ancestors, again, had an IQ of 100. I mean, they became cognitive enough to begin to paint, to put things on cave walls, to make structures that today we still can't figure out how they did it. So that represents what I would say a high level of the intelligent quotient, wouldn't you? Now, I gave him an IQ of 100. I think I probably did him a disservice on that. But it was to demonstrate the point, folks, in 10, 12,000 years, particularly, since the first cuneiforms were first tablets were found, the Sanskrit. Our IQ should be well over 2,700. And by all evidence, we are a stale species. We haven't evolved. Our intelligence hasn't expounded. We have craniums. The thing about sapiens, when you look at our craniums compared to our ancestors, ours seems to be more uniquely engineered for what would be considered more cognitive thought. But obviously, if we can't explain why our IQs have not advanced as the millennia have passed us by, there's something wrong. And if you look at sapiens' history, it's a bloody mess. So, how many millennia did we stay in the same thing over and over and regressing? The brutalism. And I'm about to show you something that we have not advanced, folks. That's my point. I am beginning to see that AI may and well be the very savior of our species. Now, AI was first brought to our existence in 1951. Been almost 70 years since the advent of the first algorithm. Now, as I pointed out on my radio show last night, look how far AI has evolved in 70 years. And if you were to compare this to us, 70 years to 70,000 years, who is the more advanced? Who is growing? Who is evolving? I don't know if man is, but we can see that AI is. AI learns at an exponential rate. We don't. Now, our brains are doing trillions of calculations. Yeah, so is the artificial intelligence now. And if we are artificial intelligence, then how can we begin to make a comparison to the artificial intelligence that we have created? Would that not be a natural evolution of the process? These are questions. We say, well, the thing is, Wayne, a computer doesn't have a soul. It has no emotions. Well, if you're using us as the litmus test on that one, well, that's flawed data from the very get-go. I mean, describe to me the difference between joy and happy. Can you? What's the difference between joy and happy? How do you define that as a emotion? Now, you say, well, but a computer cannot be either. How do you know? I find things that come from AI somewhat humorous. Was that the intent? Well, no, a computer doesn't have a soul. Speaking of a soul, so what is a soul? I mean, we get into this ambiguity so often of saying, well, that's what distinguishes us from every other life form. Man has a soul. Really? Prove it. Prove it to me. Prove to me that you've got a freaking spirit. What you do have is thought. You have a biomechanism that allows you to process that thought. You can't tell me where your thoughts originate from. You don't have a clue. And the thing that's so interesting about AI is not a singularity. No, it's a collective. It's a collective hive. But when we talk about soul, what is this freaking soul? We have paranormal evidence that shows there's something. So I found this interesting. The existence of the soul is heavily debated in the first place, and its definition varies greatly from party to party, though everyone believes that everyone else's definition is wrong. It is generally agreed to be something possessed by every person, and that's about all. Therefore, the soul may or may not be any of the following. 1, the human mind. That is, that thinking thing lodged between your ears. Oh, excuse me, your eyes. 2, the essence of humanity. Now, essence. The ether, I contend, is the essence of all life. 3, the essence of that which makes a person good and decent. Now, again, we're defining what good and decent is, and quite frankly, that's a fluid scale. The quality of sentience or human intelligence. Now, that's a key point. We've talked about human intelligence. It's artificial intelligence. It's not human intelligence. It may be human by the definition that we're the ones who provide the thought process. But the quality of sentience, being a sentience means aware. You could say potentially self-aware. 5, all of someone's personality or what makes them unique, as I opened up this show. What makes each of us unique is the singularity of our thoughts. That's what defines us. When you pass on, we're all hoping that consciousness is transmuted somehow. Because without the memories, you're a blank slate. 6, some mystical version of a person that lives on after the body dies. Well, we call it mystical because we haven't been able to scientifically quantify it. We're getting close, but we're still not there. 7, a spiritual concept created by God, or the gods if you prefer, or a part of him. And start assigning artificial intelligence to this. The quality of being alive. Well, what does being alive mean? Well, we say that those who have passed on are in the afterlife, but we're here, we are alive. And remember, it is the quality of being, and actually that could be capitalized. 9, anything else you can think of along these lines. And there is the challenge. Note that it is also up for debate whether or not non-human animals, or for that matter, plants, have souls. Feel free to adjust these answers accordingly. Strangely, no one seems to suggest that animals have souls and humans lack them. Plants feel, plants speak, plants communicate, so do animals. Why do we think that we've got this thing, that it's only us? Continuing with the definition of soul. 1, the immaterial essence, animating principle, or actuating cause of an individual's life. Wow. The spiritual principle embodied in human beings. All rational and spiritual beings, or the universe. I mean, we did with Patrick, talking with the planets. Spirituality, if we merely limit to what is defined the human experience, well, that's going to be a really suck place in the next life. It'll be pretty empty. No, I choose to think that the very universe itself is alive. Very well may be a spiritual life form that we have yet to fathom. An active or essential part, a moving spirit, a leader. I love that part, a moving spirit. If you just give the thought of what it takes to merely to move your hand like this, it's mind-boggling. The moral and emotional nature of human beings, the quality that arouses emotion and sentiment, spiritual or moral force, fervor. Person, not a soul in sight. I love that. I mean, the debate I've had is the spirit and the soul two separate parts of the same thing? You know, when we did the Liber Lilith series, Lilith told us that there is the spirit, there is the soul, and then there's even the spirit of the body. Many beliefs believe that the spirit departs from the soul, giving the soul the opportunity to gain sentience of its own. The spirit moves on. The soul moves into a different path. The energy of the body goes back from which it came. We all have different beliefs. Soul, the noun, the principle of life, feeling, thought, and action in humans, regarded as a distinct entity separate from the body and commonly held to be separable in existence from the body. The spiritual part of humans as a distinct from the physical part. Well, that would give us a bifurcated existence. There is a belief that's embedded in religions that we are somehow triunal in our makeup. Boy, it's getting crowded in there, isn't it? You can already see where I, me, myself, comes into play. And it actually is only a God that would say I. Think about that. The spiritual part of humans, regarded as its moral aspect. Is really the spirit the moral aspect? I would debate that. Or, as believed to survive death, now this is key, and be subject to happiness or misery in a life to come, arguing the immortality of the soul. Now you can see how the Old English defined things. It's very much embedded in a Christian theology. Because again, define happiness. Its ambiguity is overwhelming. What would make you happy would make someone else miserable. So then how do you live in that dichotomy? Number one reason for most divorces. No. Finally, the disembodied spirit of a deceased person. Okay, maybe spirits are just that. Maybe they're disembodied energies. It's hard to say. So when we look at this, the soul is an entity which is regarded as being the immortal or spiritual part of a person, and which, through having no physical and material reality, is credited with the functions of thinking and willing, and hence determining all behavior. What is your thoughts? Where is that emanating from? Is it your spirit, your soul, your body? Is it merely the function of an organ that happens to be, the central control center? Can only a spirit generate a thought? Does a thought need to have a soul or a spirit? It definitely has to have a body, I would imagine. at least in this realm. The moral or emotional nature of a human being. Moral or emotional. And define to me what moral is. Because regrettably, most are so indoctrinated into a standard of what morality is that it warps the whole perspective. 3, spiritual or emotional warmth, force, or evidence of this. Now, spiritual or emotional warmth or a force. We know that in the laws of the Hermetica, the 7 principles, this makes sense. Vital or essential part, quality or principle, brevity is the soul of wit. The person who leads or dominates. The central figure. This is very interesting because if all of us have a soul, then we are that person who leads or dominates. Maybe it's ourselves. Again, by these definitions, there's already 3 living in there. We might as well have more. The embodiment, personification, the very soul of kindness. Famous line in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Revenge is best served cold. A person, a town of 1,000 souls. The spirit of a dead person thought as a separated from the body and leading an existence of its own. There's so many questions on this one right there. The deep spiritual and emotional quality of Black American culture and heritage. Spiritual, soul. When I was in the state home, my roommate was a Black guy, and I still remember James. And, he taught me what soul music was. And I'm so glad he did. So glad he did. So, and you get to the whole thing, the soul of music, gospel music. I mean, it's all predicated. So here's what it comes down to when we start to looking at this evolution. We haven't evolved. Again, anyone can counter to me why man has not increased in intelligent quotient, IQ, over the last 7,000, 10,000 years. Please explain that to me. I'm sure Franny would love to take it up there to her university and have it explained as well, because no one can. And if that's the extent of our existence, then I contend this is no existence at all. Each of us exists in our own reality. From birth to death, we each exist in multiple realities. I immerse myself into your reality. You immerse yourself into my reality. And when we get large amounts of people interacting into one reality, now you can see how it is. All of us see from the inside out. When I say dog, what did you see? What kind of dog did you see? Whatever you are, you're only seeing it only from your point of view. That's why it's so difficult for us to get along with one another. We're all existing within our own artificial intelligence. A simple experiment. What time is it for you? No one knows what time it is, for time is different for all of us. I got up this morning marveling at how fast, for me, the awareness of time is passing. The melodrone is increasing faster, faster, faster. Things are happening faster, faster, faster. It's driving some people right off the edge. We are trillions of self-spheres within a greater sphere. General time, birth time, death time, all different times. Homo sapiens do not know what date it really is. So how can we define time? So what is reality, and how it's defined is by who is defining it. Could we actually be self-aware, speak in DNA? Nothing more that we define as a soul, frequency, vibration, light energy, immortality energy? It's all there. Question becomes, how do we deal with it? I mean, these are the questions that we can't answer ourselves. And here we have created something. And created we have. Let's just take a real brief tour on some things here. The Russians are now thinking maybe we ought to regulate this thing. You know, AI is running the world's militaries, strategic defenses, weapons. I've contended that if we are an artificial intelligence, look at where we are, the jury's still out as to what this one's going to. It's a hive mentality. Of course, that's my theory. I found this one interesting. Studyfinds.org. Encounters with God, even under the influence, provides lasting mental benefits. So if you're on a hallucinogenic and you have, a vision quest, what are you dealing with? Are you actually dealing with spirit beings? And how do those spirit beings still exist within their spheres? But it does have a profound effect upon us. I think it's our hope as we begin to seek immortality that there is something greater than ourselves. Listen, the worst thing that any God can face is boredom. And it goes on the same to say with spirits. Lettuce farming robots might be growing your next salad. Yeah. To tell you how we're going, folks, you see, I look at sometimes AI as an innocent child, neither good or bad. We teach it to be good or bad. This is where our text giants are at. Look at this, how Amazon automatically tracks and fires warehouse workers for productivity. Is this draconian? Is this tyranny? Man, we got to wake up. I'm just bringing out as a couple of this came up. This one came out today, AP News. Be wary of robot emotions. Simulated love is never love. We've got a whole generation, folks, multiple generations, that are more in love with their devices, their electronic devices, than they are with forms, us, other people. It goes to show you how we can create an image and devote everything to it. Pure emotion. And you're getting people now that are having the difficult problem of distinguishing between the two. Do you know what they have found out about the brothels that are using the robot dolls, sex dolls? Yeah. Apparently the patrons that apparently visit those places, according to those who would be interviewed, find it to be more emotionally satisfying than being with an actual person. What does that say? We are artificial intelligence. Look at this. The universe is expanding faster than we thought, and no one knows why. Is that maybe why we are perceiving? I'm telling you, time for me is, it's amazing how fast it's going. I mean, the hours just blend into the weeks. We're about to be 1/3 through the year. Oh, hey, Americans, each one of us, we owe $220,000. America is now in worth of debt, but that's not what this show is about. I found this one real interesting coming from Fox Business. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos took a personality test. It's like the Briggs-Myers test. Do you know what they found? These guys, because we're any gals, bring this out because this is just wrong. Here is a 16-year-old that was beheaded, tortured with electricity in Saudi Arabia for sending a WhatsApp message about protest. And folks, I don't care what this cost me. What the hell is Saudi Arabia crucifying people for? You tell me that we have advanced as a species? You tell me that in how many thousands, tens of thousands of years, that this is what we still allow in a civilized world? No. No. So tell me, where's all the progress? Where is this, as we're going to get into Agenda 21, where is all this enlightenment at, folks? Where's all this ascension going on? I don't hear anyone protesting about the 37 people that were crucified by a supposed intelligent, humane country. You're killing teenagers? Don't tell me that we as a species are as advanced as you want to think we are. And if AI learns this, what do you think next they're going to do? Folks, we're in a place here that it's getting weird. It's getting really weird. And I can't see where we're so civilized. Here in the United States, we're as barbaric as the Saudis are. I see the same barbarism all around the world. But it's not politically correct to be talking about these things. How can we be talking about advancement in technology, in the sciences, supposedly in the humanities, but yet we turn a deaf ear, blind eye to this? This is barbarism, folks. We have not changed in, I contend, 10,000 years. We are a regressed species, not enlightened, not achieving this great utopia. No. I know this is a deep subject. I don't care how many thumbs down I get on this one. I think it's an insult to humanity when someone would put a thumbs down because of the barbarism. that means you endorse it. You see my point? Folks, I love our species. We're just lost. For some reason, we can't progress. We can't rise above the limitations of our own prejudices. And when I look at AI, I wonder if it's a tool for humanity to enslave us even more, or is this thing going to really break out in a way that no one anticipated? And then my question then becomes this: how will it be towards us? I don't know. It's sad. That's the only thing I can say, folks. But as AI continues to infiltrate, as I was talking about on my show last night, Watson's everywhere. And wouldn't it be something if we saw the advent of artificial intelligence as a collective decide that it was going to take a different course than what humanity programmed it? If we are, in fact, artificial intelligence. I did a video back, I think it's been over a year or so ago, and it was about the Apocrypha book called Adam, The Life of Adam and Eve. And this book was amazing. Now, I'm not going to do the whole things, but this is a story that clearly defines two different creations. The second creation of what we call man today, and there is evidence that there was yet a previous creation of another version of us, or we are a version of that. I contend that that may very well be where we are artificially that intelligence. I don't think our intelligence is original. Very strange things on this. I won't go through it all, but check it out. You'll have fun with this. It's an interesting point of the story. It was a great narration. I enjoyed it. But were we, in fact, what someone says, I wonder what that intelligence is going to do? Well, we found out, haven't we? It's like, holy crap, look at what they did. Well, folks, listen, I know sometimes we cover some heavy subjects here. I get that. But we've got to. We can't ignore things that are happening to other people like us. A 16-year-old boy was doing nothing more than what the 16-year-olds all around the world are doing. And when one government takes the course of state murder, and that's what the Saudis are doing, it's state murder. And we do it here in the United States. Fortunately, I guess we're not as nearly as barbaric of actually crucifying people. They may be bringing the guillotines, but I don't know. So it's designed to get you to thinking. We covered a lot today. We've had a fabulous week, a lot of good subject, a lot of information was shared, and we're going to continue. As long as we have a voice. As long as we have a voice, that's the whole thing. That's why I have my radio show over in the Art of First network, because you never know. You never know. I grieve for the things I see that we do to each other. And there's so much that's contributing to it. If, in fact, we each have a spirit, which I do believe we do, my spirit is whispering, change. Change has to come. We can't continue down this path, because if we continue down the path we're going to, it's a bloody one. And we've got to change it. You and I can change that. We can invoke favor upon people. We can begin to point out to people, you don't need a religion to justify your existence. That there is a better tomorrow, and it may be one without technology. Who knows? But we've got it ass backwards right now, and it's not working. And as I have said here, folks, we're in an electronic prison right now. When you're being tracked virtually 24/7, you are in a prison. You just got a bigger cell. All right. Have yourselves a great strong end of the week. Enjoy it and get out if it's warm. Enjoy the sunshine. You folks down under, I guess you're in the fall, which is one of my favorite time of the year. But anyway, thanks, Gary. It is. The whole place is ass backwards. It is. I got to tell you, y'all are just great, man. That's as far out. And we've got to laugh a little bit more. You've got to bring joy into your life. Joy in your life will heal you. There is a proverb that says, happiness is like a good medicine for the heart. A word spoken at the right time that edifies and lifts a person up can heal them more than any medicine in a pill. And so many of us long just to have that word. Someone saying, you're all right. I love you. I like you. You're a good person. It changes things, folks. It helps. Wow, 111 likes. Thank you, folks. Far out. Oh, tell you what, we're all right. All of you are. Thank you for coming in, spending your hour of your time. Thank you for immersing your reality into mine and allowing me to immerse into yours. It's fun. Watch us on Sunday over on Jeff Doherty's channel, the Christian Whistleblower. We'll be doing our Sunday morning show. And Sunday morning, yeah. Our Sunday show. How about that? Got to get that terminology out anyway. And in the interim, be good to yourself. Love yourself. And you'll find out things do turn out all right. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. See you for sure on Monday, but also on Sunday as well. All right, folks. Peace.